What's up? Got some Apple news. Yes, Apple just gave their big, grand announcement yesterday about the new iPhones. They just surprised us. It wasn't just one iPhone, they gave us three. So you got the iPhone 10 or X, you got iPhone 8, iPhone 8 Plus. So the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus are basically just the second edition or the upgraded version of the iPhone 7 and the 7 Plus. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, like I was thinking, and like a lot of people was thinking on, that I was following on my Twitter feed, why would Apple just do away with the S model? I mean, they've been doing the S model since the beginning of time, since, they went back to the 3G and the 3GS, which was the S was for speed. Now they just completely did away with the S. The only difference is, of course, the mild differences. Usually every single model that's upgraded from the previous version is just minor modifications. So for instance, you get a faster processor. I believe they got the 812 in there, the A12, excuse me, and they have a better camera aperture. Of course, every time you get new iPhones, it's always going to be the same, ordeal. You're going to get more power and you're going to get more camera functionality from them. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what you got. And you got, a couple other bells and whistles through iOS 11. But I'm going to get to that in a second. Basically seen was what we've already seen if you follow all the technology sites. You got the Super Retina screen, which is the OLED beautiful display. It's 5.8 inch screen. It's end to end, so it's right toward the edges, and they round off a little bit, and it's just no bezel. Then at the top you have a little bar right around where the earpiece would normally go, or the front face camera would regular go, and in that you have sensors, and these sensors give us Face ID. So now Apple's getting into the face recognition business, and Google's been trying to do this thing for like 4 or 5 years, and it's just been falling on its face. So it's going to be interesting to see if Apple can make Face ID a thing, because it hasn't been a thing to this point. We'll see, because I know hackers are going to go to town on this thing just to prove Apple wrong. So that's going to be left to be determined. And in addition to that, there's no more button. So we don't really know in the tech world if Apple's completely doing away with Touch ID. We find it hard to believe that they're going to do away with a technology that they've put so much resources into. I mean, they've put the technology in all their new MacBook Pro lines. So it makes it hard to believe that they're just going to do away with Touch ID altogether. So what the general consensus is out and, in the technology world is that Apple is still working out the kinks of Touch ID underneath the screen. So don't be surprised once these things start rolling out in November that Touch ID comes back, but it comes back in a different form, a form that's underneath the screen. Let's really talk about what the hell the real story should be about, and that's the goddamn price. Starting at $999, which is a G or 1,000 or rack. When is enough enough? When are we as consumers gonna say, all right, Apple, man, y'all tripping with this price? I mean, it's getting to the point where these phones are starting to cost the same amount of money as their MacBook line, or as their MacBook Air. I mean, they cost more than MacBook Airs. So we're gonna get to that point, or Apple's gonna get to that point where I think Apple's trying to figure out what's the cap. How high can we possibly go before our consumers say, okay, we're not going to buy this. This is too expensive. So I think they're in the beginning of that process. Wall Street clearly believes that as well, because as they were announcing all these things, their stock price was going down. And it was going down for a reason, because, the street is concerned with the prices, as they should be. And I'm concerned with those prices. I've been concerned with these prices for years now. And I think that's going to get to a saturation point where Apple is going to have to really consider dialing it back with these goddamn prices. With all that being said, doesn't mean that people aren't going to buy it. Hell, it doesn't mean if I'm not going to buy it. Apple's pulled this trick off before. They are the masters. You buy something that you don't really need. So they're very good at that, and we're definitely going to see how this translates for this iPhone 10. Let's transition away from the phone for a second, because everybody's talking about the phone because of the obvious price tag of $1,000. I mean, it's pretty much a newsworthy item when it comes to that. But I think the star of the show had to be the Apple Watch 3. The Apple Watch 3 is delivering everything people wanted from the jump. And that's cellular connectivity. So that means you can finally bring out your Apple Watch without having to rely on your goddamn phone. So now your Apple Watch will have its own cellular connection to it. That means you can stream music through it. You could do a whole bunch of other things that you couldn't do with it before. So that's a huge thing. And the starting price for that is $400. So it's still a little pricey, but look at it as having like a entry level or mid level, smartphone, but way more advanced than that, way more powerful than that on your wrist. So that's how I look at it. So the price tag is not too bad, but that's one that everybody was excited about for obvious reasons. I mean, it's delivering a lot of what we already wanted. So even I'm considering maybe finally jumping into the whole smartwatch thing. Lastly, I wouldn't be remiss if I didn't discuss a little bit about my first impressions of iOS 11. Now, iOS 11, I got a lot of friends, people that I know, and people that are still in the technology industry that's been testing this iOS 11 for months. Because all the beta models have been coming out throughout the summer. Everybody's been testing it from the beginning. Not me. I'm not one of those guys that like to test really, really, really buggy software on my main device at that. No, I don't do that. I wait till the last build to come out, or at least sometimes I wait until, the second to last build to come out, because that's when things get a little stable. But in this situation, I waited until, the Gold Master Edition came out. The Gold Master Edition, for those who don't understand what that is, code GM, is, the developer's version of what the public will get next week for iOS 11. So basically, the GM version of iOS 11 is just basically what everyone's going to get next week. So me, being a person that's a little bit gotta have it now, I got the download today. So I've been testing it out, and there's a lot of different things I've been noticing. Of course, they brought back the cards, the multitasking pane with the cards in the UI. So, it's got a lot of WebOS feel to it. They did away with that. I think they brought that out in iOS 7 in an early beta build. I'm not sure if that's you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was iOS 7. But anyway, they brought back the card view for multitasking, so that's important. And now they got other little bells and whistles, like, animated emojis. That's I guess that's for the Snapchat crowd. I'm not really concerned about it. I use GIFs. Try to pay attention to when I look at, user interfaces, or when I look at all these different types of builds or these different versions of softwares. I like to look at the simple things, the things that people overlook. Because everybody want to see the flashy stuff, the stuff that's easy to present to people, easy to say, ooh, look at this. No, not me. I like to look at the stuff, the bare bones stuff, the stuff that we normally use that's done really well. And in this case, I noticed this is one feature I've pleaded for from Apple for years. And it seems to finally be there. I still need to see a case study of it. But what I'm talking about is the ability to leave those pesky, annoying ass group chats that you get put into against your will that you can't leave out of. I think they've finally started the process of helping people out like us who don't want to be in those group chats. So what I'm saying by that is, once you go to the bottom of the thread or you go to the settings when you get into a group chat, now there's a feature, an option at the bottom that says leave conversation. So now Apple has finally given us, me and you, the option to leave these goddamn group chats. Another thing in iOS 11 is a brand new looking App Store. So the App Store got a brand new paint job. They redid the categories. Before, you had all these ridiculous categories that you had to sift through in your settings just to get to the certain apps that you were looking for. Now they have it all condensed. All the apps are a little better condensed. Games are in one section now. You just click on the button, or click. What am I talking about? You can press the button, games, and all the games are in there now. Top apps are in just one section. So everything is way more refined, way more condensed, easier to access. Of course, that's a great thing to make life a lot easier, and it spends less time on your phone when you can finally find things a lot easier than you did before. So they did that. And lastly, what I also like, because again, I'm still testing all of this stuff, is on the iPad Pro. Now, this update mainly focused on revamping the way you use the iPad Pro. The only point that they made, the only reason why they came out with the iPad Pro was to make a fully functionable iPad slash, or excuse me, tablet slash, laptop type device that you can use for business types of things, writing and doing all these types of things that you would normally do on a laptop at your job. The multitasking on this thing is just, it's awesome. I mean, it is really awesome. You can drag and drop things. You can swipe things away. It's really good. It's a full layout now where you can see all your different apps that you opened and just access them with one press. I mean, it's really nice. And of course, I still have to get the hang of it, but I'm very pleasantly, satisfied from what Apple has delivered on that front so far. So Apple just did what they always do, and that's give you a nice presentation on their yearly schedule to show you all their cool new toys that's going to be the updated versions of their entire lineup. That's what they do, folks. They've been doing this for 10 years now, and you already know what to expect with these guys. So my question to you is, what is some of the things that you wish Apple would have addressed? What are some products that you're still looking for in the future? Let me know in the comment section below.